The internet didn't ease into this one, it exploded on impact. Because when Chrisean Rock finally went off on Blueface's mom, the timeline didn't just react, it panicked. This wasn't a quiet disagreement or a shady comment buried in a livestream. This was raw, public, and loud enough to make people stop mid-scroll like they just heard a glass shatter. Suddenly, everyone was awake. Group chats lit up. Notifications stacked. People who swore they were done with this saga were right back in the comments pretending they never left. Because when family drama goes public, it hits different. Especially when it involves disrespect, old tension, and emotions that clearly haven't healed. Chrisean's reaction didn't feel calculated. It felt bottled, like something that had been sitting under pressure for way too long before finally blowing the lid off. And the wild part? The internet didn't even wait to hear the full story. It picked sides immediately, like this was a championship fight instead of a family meltdown. Comparisons started flying fast. People said this made reality TV look scripted. Others joked that even the Kardashians would have called a crisis team by now. But underneath the jokes was discomfort. Because this wasn't entertainment anymore. This was a family unraveling in real time, with millions watching and refreshing. This situation didn't explode out of nowhere, even if the internet acted shocked. The tension between Chrisean Rock and Blueface's mom had been quietly stacking up like unpaid emotional debt. Side comments here, awkward silences there, moments where everyone pretended things were fine while clearly keeping score. Family drama doesn't usually announce itself. It builds behind smiles, passive remarks, and conversations that never quite get finished. When Chrisean finally went off, it felt less like a surprise and more like overdue interest being collected. The relationship between Chrisean and Blueface's family has always lived in a gray zone. Not openly hostile, but never comfortable either. Every interaction felt monitored, judged, and mentally archived for later use. Chrisean has always been treated like an outsider who never quite earned a permanent seat at the table. And when someone feels tolerated instead of accepted, resentment doesn't disappear. It waits, quietly, patiently. What made this moment different was how public it became. This wasn't a private disagreement leaking accidentally. This was frustration spilling over in real time, with no attempt to soften the edges. Chrisean's response didn't sound strategic or performative. It sounded raw, emotional, and fed up. Like someone who had been holding their tongue for too long and finally decided silence wasn't protecting anyone anymore. The internet immediately framed it as disrespect versus reaction. Some viewers argued that Blueface's mom crossed a line first, poking at wounds that were already sensitive. Others said Chrisean's response was too explosive, regardless of what was said beforehand. What got lost almost instantly was context. Nobody wanted to slow down and ask how long this tension had been brewing. They wanted a villain, a victim, and a headline that fit in one sentence. Chrisean's history made her an easy target. Every past mistake was dragged back into the conversation like evidence in a case she never gets to close. Critics treated the outburst as confirmation of everything they already believed. Supporters argued that constant provocation eventually produces reactions, not calm explanations. Both sides spoke loudly. Neither side listened. Blueface's mom, meanwhile, didn't soften her stance. Her words didn't sound accidental or misunderstood. They sounded deliberate. To some people, that read as honesty. To others, it felt cold and dismissive. The tone mattered more than the content, because tone is what people remember when emotions are high. And once tone becomes the focus, reconciliation gets pushed further away. The first clips circulated fast, stripped of any buildup that came before them. Short snippets replaced full conversations. Screenshots replaced nuance. Reaction channels jumped in immediately, narrating the moment like breaking news even though nobody had the full picture. Confidence mattered more than accuracy. Whoever sounded most certain controlled the narrative for that hour. Comment sections split like fault lines. One group defended Chrisean aggressively, saying nobody would stay calm after repeated disrespect from family members who never wanted them there. Another group accused her of proving critics right yet again, arguing that emotional control matters most when tensions are already high. Neutral takes were ignored. Middle ground doesn't trend. Blueface's silence didn't help. His absence became part of the controversy, with people asking why he wasn't stepping in to de-escalate a situation involving his own family. Some believed he was intentionally staying quiet to avoid backlash. Others said his silence spoke louder than any statement could. In internet logic, not choosing a side is still choosing something. The situation escalated because it tapped into something deeper than gossip. It touched family dynamics, power, acceptance, and control. Viewers weren't just reacting to celebrities. They were projecting their own family experiences onto the conflict. Anyone who has ever felt judged by a partner's family felt seen. Anyone who has felt dismissed or unwelcome found a side to stand on. As more people weighed in, the story became less about what was said and more about what it symbolized. Chrisean represented someone constantly scrutinized and never fully forgiven. Blueface's mom represented authority and boundaries that felt rigid and unforgiving. Once symbols take over, real people disappear behind them. Memes began circulating almost immediately, because humor is how the internet digests discomfort. Some were exaggerated, some were cruel. Others tried to lighten the mood while missing how serious the situation actually was. Jokes landed, but uneasily. This wasn't playful chaos. It felt heavy, unresolved, and personal. Every hour brought new commentary, new angles, and new insider claims. Some people said this had been building behind the scenes for months. Others claimed this was the breaking point after repeated clashes no one saw. The truth became harder to locate as speculation grew louder. Facts don't move as fast as outrage. Chrisean didn't immediately respond again, and that silence became another weapon. Critics called it avoidance. Supporters called it emotional overload. Silence in moments like this becomes whatever people want it to be. The longer it lasts, the more meaning gets attached to it, whether accurate or not. What became clear early on was that this wasn't just another viral argument. This moment changed how people viewed the entire saga. It reframed past incidents and set the tone for future ones. Once family conflict goes public at this level, it doesn't reset easily. Every future interaction gets measured against this moment. This was no longer just about words exchanged. It was about respect, power, and who gets to speak without being labeled unstable. It was about who gets grace and who gets consequences. And it was about how quickly the internet turns emotional pain into entertainment. By the end of this phase, the damage was already done. Opinions were locked in. Narratives had solidified. And whatever resolution might come later would have to fight against everything already said. Family drama doesn't end when the internet gets bored. It just goes quiet until the next trigger appears. Once the first shock wore off, the internet shifted from reacting to excavating. Old clips didn't just resurface, they were reframed like lost chapters suddenly deemed essential. Livestream moments that once passed without comment were slowed down, paused, and analyzed as if they'd been warning labels everyone ignored. Tweets were screenshot, captions rewritten, and tone reinterpreted. The story stopped being a single blow-up and turned into a timeline trial, where everything counted as evidence. Reaction channels went into overdrive. Every thumbnail promised the real reason, the missing context, or the final breakdown, even when it was the same 30 seconds repackaged with louder music. Certainty became the currency. Whoever spoke with the most confidence sounded right, regardless of facts. Nuance got benched because outrage performs better when it's simple and aggressive. Memes arrived fast and unapologetic. Some were clever, others careless, a few outright cruel. Humor became a coping mechanism for discomfort the internet didn't want to sit with. Comparisons flew everywhere. People joked this feud had more plot twists than a prestige drama. Others said it made reality TV look staged. The laughs landed, but uneasily, because everyone sensed this wasn't funny for the people living it. Public opinion hardened into camps. One side said Chrisean was finally responding to long-term disrespect that would push anyone to the edge. Another side insisted she proved her critics right again, arguing that control matters most when pressure peaks. The divide wasn't civil. It was loud, personal, and relentless. Every comment section turned into a battleground where empathy was treated like weakness. Blueface's continued quiet became its own headline. The absence started to feel intentional, and intention invites suspicion. Some believed he was staying silent to avoid becoming collateral damage. Others accused him of letting the women take the heat while he remained untouched. Silence stopped being neutral and started reading like a strategy people didn't trust. As the noise grew, adjacent voices entered the chat. Influencers, podcasters, and celebrity commentators weighed in with concern-coded criticism. A few tried to sound balanced. Many leaned into spectacle. Their reactions didn't calm the storm. They legitimized it. Once public figures validate a controversy, it graduates from moment to movement. The conversation around family boundaries intensified. People argued about respect, authority, and who gets to speak without consequences. Blueface's mom was framed either as brutally honest or unnecessarily harsh, depending on the lens. Her refusal to soften anything only deepened the divide. The internet expects women to cushion truth. When they don't, discomfort turns into backlash. Baby Junior's name stayed central, and that's where things grew complicated. Everyone claimed to be speaking for protection, but the volume felt invasive. His name became a shield people used to justify their takes. Protection turned performative. Concern became competitive. The irony was obvious but ignored because moral certainty travels faster than self-awareness. Details about the blow-up mutated as they spread. Early descriptions sounded vague. Later retellings added urgency, danger, and intention. Each iteration felt more dramatic than the last. Accuracy fell behind engagement. The most intense version won the algorithm, even if it blurred reality beyond recognition. Chrisean's silence stretched and absorbed meaning it may not have carried. Supporters saw someone overwhelmed by public judgment. Critics saw avoidance. Silence became a Rorschach test for bias. Every hour without a response added another theory, another assumption, another angle ready for monetization. Meanwhile, Carlis's composure, real or perceived, unsettled people. Calm during chaos reads as confidence to some and cruelty to others. The expectation that she should explain, soften, or apologize never stopped. Her refusal to perform emotional repair on demand hardened opinions further. Boundaries spoken publicly tend to demand consistency, and consistency scares people who expect flexibility. The outrage loop fed itself. Reaction videos responded to reaction videos. Commentary became commentary on commentary. The story folded inward until it was hard to tell where the event ended and the discourse began. At that point, facts mattered less than momentum. What changed most was perception. Viewers who once watched casually started reevaluating everything they'd seen before. Past moments were reinterpreted through this lens. The saga felt heavier, less entertaining, more uncomfortable. When spectacle starts to feel personal, laughter fades. Behind the scenes, quiet consequences likely began forming. Conversations paused. Decisions slowed. People don't announce when they reconsider partnerships. They simply do. Controversy without control makes business nervous, even when the internet cheers. Applause doesn't equal longevity. The narrative also exposed how fame magnifies family conflict. Private tension becomes public currency. Every disagreement becomes content. Healing becomes harder when the audience expects updates. The internet rewards escalation, not resolution, and that incentive structure keeps pressure high. By the end of this phase, one thing was obvious. This wasn't cooling down. It was compressing. Too many feelings were unresolved. Too many words were said without follow-up. Quiet didn't feel like peace. It felt like a pause before impact. When the noise finally started thinning out, the damage didn't disappear with it. Viral chaos has a short attention span, but long consequences. The internet moved on to the next headline, yet this moment stayed glued to everyone involved like a permanent label. What once felt like another messy chapter now looked like a turning point. Not because of one argument, but because of how public, personal, and unresolved it all became. Chrisean's image took another hard hit. one that didn't need exaggeration to stick. Critics treated this moment as a conclusion rather than a question, claiming it confirmed everything they already believed. Supporters felt something different. Not anger, but fatigue. The kind that comes from defending someone who never gets the benefit of growth in real time. One mistake becomes a character trait when the internet decides redemption should be instant. Blueface's mom also walked away changed in public perception. Her words didn't fade, they echoed. To some, she looked like someone finally drawing a boundary with clarity and courage. To others, she looked cold, unforgiving, and too comfortable saying things families usually keep private. The issue wasn't just what she said. It was that she said it publicly, without cushioning, and without backtracking. Finality makes people uneasy. Blueface himself couldn't stay out of the story anymore, even if he tried. His earlier silence came back around, reframed as avoidance instead of strategy. Fans questioned why mediation never arrived before everything imploded. Critics suggested chaos seemed to follow him without consequence. In the court of public opinion, patterns matter more than explanations, and association becomes accusation quickly. Behind the scenes, the ripple effects likely started quietly. Opportunities don't vanish with announcements, they fade with delays. Calls stop coming. Conversations get vague. People hesitate without saying why. Controversy without control makes collaborators nervous, especially when the fallout feels unpredictable. The internet might cheer in the moment, but long-term stability never trends. The most uncomfortable part of the aftermath sat right in the middle of every argument. Baby Jr. His name was everywhere, attached to opinions, debates, and moral grandstanding. Everyone claimed concern, yet few questioned whether constant speculation was its own form of harm. Protection became loud instead of thoughtful. The child turned into a symbol rather than a person, and the irony of that went mostly ignored. Chrisean now faces a familiar crossroads. Every future move will be judged against this moment. Silence will be called avoidance. Speaking up will be called deflection. Apologies will be dissected. Progress will be doubted. The internet loves transformation stories but hates the real process of changing. Growth without mistakes is demanded, even though it's impossible. Blueface's family dynamic also shifted in ways that won't easily reset. Public conflict doesn't disappear when cameras stop rolling. It changes how people talk off camera. It reshapes trust. It lingers in rooms even when nobody mentions it. Once lines are drawn publicly, stepping back across them takes more than time. It takes willingness that pressure rarely allows. Carlos's future role comes with its own weight now. Boundaries spoken publicly tend to demand consistency. Walking anything back risks looking weak. Standing firm risks looking unforgiving. The internet doesn't reward recalibration. It prefers absolutes. And absolutes don't leave much room for reconciliation when emotions are already fragile. Speculation filled the quiet left behind. People wondered what would come next. A sit-down conversation. A statement framed as clarity. A tell-all interview disguised as healing. The audience waited with unsettling patience, because history suggests this saga never ends with silence. Calm doesn't feel permanent here. It feels like preparation. What this moment exposed more than anything was how fame magnifies family conflict instead of fixing it. Private tension becomes public currency. Disagreements become content. Emotional wounds get commentary before they get care. The internet rewards escalation, not resolution, and that incentive keeps pressure high long after attention fades. As attention drifted elsewhere, the real work stayed off screen. Repairing relationships. Redefining boundaries. Protecting what never should have been public in the first place. None of that trends. None of that gets thumbnails. But it's the only path that doesn't loop back into the same chaos again. If you made it to the end of this breakdown, don't pretend you weren't locked in. This wasn't background noise. This was the kind of story that makes you pause the video just to process what you heard. So now do what the algorithm understands best and smash that like button like it personally crossed you. Not a soft tap. Hit it with conviction. Drop your thoughts in the comments because we already know everyone has an opinion. Was Chrisean finally reacting to long-term disrespect, Or did things go too far this time? Did Blueface's mom set boundaries, or did she draw lines that can't be erased? And where does accountability actually start when family drama becomes public entertainment? Say it honestly, say it loud, or say it messy. Either way, the conversation belongs down there. If this video just found you, welcome to the chaos. Hit subscribe because stories like this don't end when the internet goes quiet. They pause, then they come back louder, uglier, and harder to ignore. Turn on notifications too, because missing the next update in this saga is how people end up confused, emotional, and arguing in the comments with no context. This channel doesn't chase rumors just to scream headlines. We break down the layers, call out the contradictions, and follow the ripple effects after the noise fades. No fake outrage, no watered down takes, just real conversations about fame, family, and what happens when pressure cracks everything open, because today's viral moment becomes tomorrow's reputation, and once the ripple starts, it never stops spreading. This is Fame Ripple, where one moment changes everything.